Hello, friends, and welcome to worship at Winston-Salem Friends Meeting. I'm delighted that we can gather today in heart, mind, and spirit. And I invite you to enjoy a brief break of settling in and enjoying the lake view from outside our home here in Greensboro. I'm grateful that the magic of technology allows us to share our space with you. So, starting today's message, I feel like it's a fair warning to you that this quite likely could be called, could be bad, could be good, too soon to tell, part 3. Just to refresh your memory, the story of the ancient Chinese farmer that I have shared with you a couple of occasions before now shows us how to withhold judgment that has the capacity to leave us feeling overinflated with an either or viewpoint, despair in one hand or joy on the other. So rather than make a knee jerk reaction of whatever is unfolding around us, we remain calm and cool with the idea of too soon to tell. The words of John Lennon kind of come to play here if we say, just let it be. The last time we gathered together, we expanded the neutrality that this story represents. So from a point of non-judgment, we moved toward the science of hope. To people like Quaker cosmologist George Ellis, hope is actually part of the universe's mathematical structure. We might say that the arc of the universe is mathematically wired to bend toward the goodness of justice. And if I might take some poetic license and blend an old hymn with a Bob Marley tune, this perspective turns could be good, could be bad, too soon to tell, into soon, very soon, every little thing's going to be all right. And today's message is yet another twist in the tale of too soon to tell. Imagine that we're turning a multifaceted gem in the sun to glimpse a new refraction of light. And so today, that light for me I've entitled is Loving What Is. Let me tell you how this topic came about. If you've listened closely to the messages I've shared with you, you already know I'm a little impatient with the neutral stance of Could be good, could be bad. Too soon to tell. As an undying optimist, the science of hope, or what I call the science of hope, is more my cup of tea. I much rather prefer taking a broad view and gathering the best possible solutions, and then exploring the various ways that I or groups might move toward them. But I've mulled over this hopeful concept, and I can feel frustration and the pain that comes with waiting for good. And I know I'm not alone in these feelings. In fact, the very person who developed this cosmological theory of goodness actually lost hope. George Ellis admittedly moved to Germany for 4 years when the insurmountable atrocities of apartheid became too much for him to bear in his peace activism in South Africa. Many of us in the United States have been holding out hope for 4 years. Some for decades, others a lifetime. And since before our country's inception, holding on to hope has sustained indigenous peoples and people of color. That's more than 250 years of waiting for good to unfold. Seems to me there's got to be more to the story. And with the science of hope on my mind, I thought about the persistent and profuse dichotomy at play in our world. What does good look like when we all have such varying opinions as to what good actually is? I kept turning that gem in the light until I could get a better understanding of Ellis's cosmological concept of good. Turns out there's a deeper, more personal practice which each of us can engage to begin to be the good we wish to see in the world. So most Quakers know well the quotation from John Woolman's journals that asks us to examine our lives for seeds of violence. He said, "May we look upon our treasure, the furniture of our houses and our garments, and try to discover whether the seeds of war have nourishment in these, our possessions." Woolman was well aware that our possessions might well have been created by slave labor. Even today, that could be true. And thereby they support, buying them supports slavery as a profitable industry rather than the cruel and inhumane practice that it was and still is. Examining the seeds of violence isn't just limited to our physical possessions. They can also be implanted in our mental possessions, our thoughts, and our feelings. Romans 12 in the Christian scriptures tells us, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good, what is acceptable and perfect." The world is overwrought with divisiveness and animosity, and as the elections in the United States grows closer, this is likely to crescendo. How can we comb through our thoughts and transform them into what is good? Good right now, not good in the sweet by and by. Author Jeff Foster points us toward one solution to this question in his book, The Way of Rest, Finding the Courage to Hold Everything in Love. Foster writes, your feelings, the energies alive in your body right now, were not caused by anybody else, and nobody can take them away from you. Yes, others may trigger pain and sorrow in you, but they cannot make you feel how you feel. Your responsibility lies in how you respond to uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. Making others responsible for how we feel and for what we think is the beginning of all violence, both internal and external, all conflict between people, and ultimately all wars between nations. Foster invites us to slow down, breathe, and simply be present to our feelings and thoughts, our anger, our hurt, and grief, our disappointment. In his words, these are wounds open to be held, healed, bathed, and drenched with loving attention. They aren't something to be fixed. They're nothing to be acted on. They're just there for us to breathe and be present to whatever you're thinking or feeling. Your deepest peace is not dependent on what happens outside of you. It's something that you find within yourself. And if your thoughts and feelings are keeping you from peace, just sit with them, be present to them, hold them tenderly and compassionately. Spiritual teacher and author Byron Katie takes us one step further with her process that's simply called the work. Once we've slowed down and sat with our thoughts and feelings, Katie offers a series of 4 simple inquiries that we can examine our thoughts and feelings with to get objective about them. The questions are this. First, is it true? This feeling or thought that you have, is it true? The second one is, can you absolutely, positively know that it's true? Thirdly, how do you react? What happens inside of you when you believe that this belief or thought is true? And lastly, who would you be without that thought, without that belief that you're holding on to as true? In her latest book, A Mind at Home with Itself, Katie says the only important thing to know is this. If a thought hurts, question it. By reflecting deeply on our thoughts and beliefs, and Katie recommends starting with the most troubling ones, we can find our way to less stress, less struggle, less suffering. We can see where we have been projecting our own stories onto other people and other situations. The work Katie offers allows us to get the log out of our own eye before we get the speck out of someone else's eye. She writes, can you eliminate war everywhere on earth? Through this inquiry, you can eliminate it for one human being. you. This is the beginning of the end of war in the world. Taking a deeper look at our own limiting thoughts and our painful beliefs, even our painful memories, is a fiber that is actually woven into George Ellis's theory that I've been calling the science of good, but that he calls the ethic of kenosis. There's an emptying of oneself, which is the meaning of kenosis. That is the beginning of good. We go from shrugging our shoulders, saying, it could be good, it could be bad, it's too soon to tell, to emptying our hearts of the logs that keep us warring, that flame the fires of our anger and block us from peace. Perhaps through the work of Ellis and Foster and Katie, you can find with their help a path that will take you to a peace that is sustainable, a peace that is deep enough that it passes all understanding. And so it is. Amen.